talkers, so thanks for coming up. A lot of long-standing colleagues for the industry, and it's great that you can come here and share this with us. As you've heard this morning, the breadth of ambition for NEOM is truly breathtaking in terms of how we're going to relate to our built environment, our natural environment, how we're going to redefine urbanism from a perspective that's never been done before. And in the media industries, we share that ambition in terms of redefining how we're going to disrupt the media sector, both in the region but hopefully further afield. And what you're seeing and experiencing today is significant, and we're really proud to share that with you. And you'll see more of it obviously through the course of the morning and after the formal sessions are finished. Now, for most people in this room, we all know the importance of media and creative industries, its impact on societies and economies. The soft power it creates, the jobs it generates, the economic value it certainly creates. And it's a sector that's going through incredible change at the moment, and a lot of people in this room are part of that disruption. Sort of technology has allowed us to eclipse the 24-hour day, in terms of what we're watching, what we're reading, what we're playing. Consumers have never been spoiled for choice like never before in what they can access. And that's creating a lot of opportunities. It's also creating a lot of challenges. And it's certainly from an opportunity standpoint how we open up new markets and audiences to new content. If we take the Korean model, the Korean example, and the blueprint that they've created, it really sort of created a new scenario. For a lot of people, the Korean wave, the Hallyu as it was known, when that occurred, everybody thought it was an overnight success. Suddenly, global audiences were being enthralled with Korean films, television, food, more recently, dance. But the reality is that it wasn't by accident, nor was it spontaneous. When Parasite picked up the Best Picture award some 4 years ago, more recently you had the Squid Games phenomenon, these were unprecedented outcomes for foreign content. And what it showed was that great content will find an audience today because of global platforms. And that language and culture are no longer a barrier to global success. For the Koreans, that journey started over 20 years ago when the government decided to focus on the creative industries, to diversify their economy, to build Korean identity, and importantly, amplify the Korean brand globally. What was an obscure corner of the media landscape is now a regional and global powerhouse in film, television formats, dance, music, and most importantly, it's connected into the global ecosystem. And that's the exciting opportunity that we have. We've seen the parallels, we've drawn the lessons, and we're vigorously applying them to our unique circumstances. And our marketplace, Middle East, North Africa, it's a marketplace of 500 million people. Okay, it's bigger than the US North American marketplace. From Morocco to Oman, culturally diverse. But what we have is the power of demographics. We have the enviable position of having a demographic of 50% of the population under the age of 30, who have a ferocious appetite for content. And I'd like to introduce to the stage now David Sanderson from Bain, who will give you a bit of a perspective as to the power of that demographic and what it means for our industry. David? Thank you.
Good morning. Wayne asked me to share and dimensionalize the opportunity for video content creation in the week. Where I want to start is I want to pull the aperture back and open the aperture and pull the lens back and look at the global media and entertainment market. You can see the underlying growth from 21 to 2030. The market will more than double. And during that time, video content will grow at least 1.5 times, and video game content greater than 2 times. The underlying growth will come from both the existing subscribers and video gamers, as well as the expectation of 1 billion new subscribers to streaming, as well as 1 billion new gamers. So the market is robust, and even though today we probably feel some of the pressures that streamers are feeling from a cost perspective, the good news is that when you take a longer term view, the market is going to go through robust growth over the next decade. When we look at the growth of a market, we like to understand not just how people are behaving today, but what the future demographic segments are likely to do as they age in the market. And the good news is that both Gen Z as well as the millennials consume as much video content as their predecessors did, and they're spending over half their time either with long-form content and or with video gaming. So we believe that the future is certainly supported by the behaviors we're seeing with the younger demographics. The next thing we like to look at is where's the growth going to come from? And we can all talk about the fact that there's quite a bit of saturation in the Western markets, particularly in the US and North America, where we have high streaming penetration and high gamer penetration. The good news is that there's a lot of growth opportunity around the world. When you look at the penetration in markets outside of the North America and Europe, both from a streaming standpoint and also a gaming standpoint. So when we look at that growth from $1.5 trillion to $3 trillion over that decade, we certainly believe that based upon the behaviors of younger demographics and the opportunities across the geography, that market opportunity is certainly supported, and the growth certainly can be supported by these underlying facts. In responding to the market, what we're seeing is media companies creating content for not just English speaking markets, but also a broader range of markets. If you go back to 2019, only 35% of Netflix content was created for markets outside of North America and Europe. Today, it's closing in on about half, and we expect that by 2027, almost 2/3 of all the content created will be in a language that is other than English. On the right hand side, you can see the success that we've seen across a number of those local language series and programs that were created, and the globalization of that content, which says that these stories that are being created for local markets can actually travel and be successful when released across markets. The bottom left here, we see this series Paranormal. It was only the third Arabic language program ever to be put on Netflix, and that was released in 2020, obviously having enormous success. Today there's over a couple of hundred series now on Netflix in Arabic language. So you can see the growth and the success of content that both is created locally and having both commercial and critical acclaim when released across the globe. So now let's look specifically at the MENA region and look at why we believe it holds an attractive opportunity. First and foremost, it's a sizable market. Over half a billion people are in the region with a common language and a robust economy. The underlying population is young and tech savvy, with 70% of the population under 40. When you look at their behaviors and what they're doing, there's 170 million out of that half a billion that are active gamers, and about 2/3 of them are what we would term as heavy streamers. So when you look at the underlying attributes of the market in terms of the size, the underlying demographics, and the behaviors, it all portends well for the region. When you look at the penetration on a per capita spend basis, it also says that there's quite a bit of opportunity in the region, whether that's for long-form content, streaming, gaming, or social media. And you compare the per capita spending in the region relative to other regions and globally, it certainly says that there is a lot of upside opportunity for spending in the region. And when you look at the availability of content in Arabic relative to the world, the population in the region, well, the region has about 6% of the population, only 1% of the content is in Arabic language, which suggests that if there was more content made available, certainly it could be one of the drivers behind creating a greater per cap spend in the region and certainly highlighting the opportunity that exists. Finally, the important thing is that there's an enormous amount of investment going into the region. We're here today to talk about the investment that NEOM has made and the infrastructure that they've put in place to facilitate and enable world-class production capability. In addition, we've seen the investment by regional players in putting real economic dollars behind creating content for the region and creating Arabic language content. As well, we've seen the continued expansion and growth of the global players and their interest and growth in the region. And fourthly, certainly the regulatory environment has made the region a very attractive place to do production in, whether that's through production incentives and or making it an attractive place for productions to locate. And finally, the ecosystem is certainly being invested in as well through academies and bringing folks into the region to help support the overall industry and the development of video production capability. So in aggregate, what we would say is we certainly believe that the region is ripe for a significant growth in content production, both for video and video gaming. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, David. So that's what excites me. We've got the audience, we've got the talent, and the storytelling's in the DNA of the region, yet we still underperform. I think as you just heard David say, we've got 6% of the world's population are Arab speakers, yet still less than 1% of content is in Arabic. And why is that? Well, firstly, our infrastructure. It's poor, it's underinvested, it's scattered. Our talent is dispersed, and our industry, our businesses are scattered across the region. We lack that industry focal point to harness the collective power of collaboration in the region. Now, NEOM, we understand what the critical success factors are when it comes to digital and in particular convergence and how that impacts both the creative and the production processes. And how technology is changing the value chain. And through the right legal and regulatory infrastructure and talent approach, we believe that we can make a difference. Now, I'm not going to stand here like often happens for people in the region. We're going to be the biggest and the best in the world. That's not how our industry works. What I will say is we will become one of the elite global media hubs. And we will participate in what is now a 24-hour industry. Now, that starts now. It's already started. Last August, we launched our first purpose-built soundstage. 3 weeks ago, we launched our fourth soundstage. Some people in the room were here or there to experience that, and ordinarily I would sort of say what happens in NEOM stays in NEOM, but I'll allow an exception this time for people to sort of, let you talk about and hear from them on what they experienced there. But for those who couldn't make it, here's a quick recap of what happened those couple of days. Right days, but hopefully we're going to be doing it again in December this year. So what you're seeing is studio infrastructure being built on the back of regional demand. And with the combination of the studios, our backlog facilities, our production support facilities, the accommodation we put in, the sense of community, we've now established the region's largest production centre with state-of-the-art infrastructure. Okay? It hasn't existed for the best part of 30 years. We've managed to achieve that in 18 months. Those stages went up, each one of them in roughly 4 months at a time. So we're not mucking around. And all of this is backed by some blunt Australians coming out. And all of this is sort of being backed and underpinned by a very attractive and competitive, 40% plus location incentive. And we'll get on to what the plus means a bit later on, so I'll keep you hanging on for a few more minutes. Now, like any great production, it takes a cast of thousands to bring it to the screen. And, I've got a great team behind me, and not literally, but behind me, who have really realised what we've done. And they are a formidable team from all around the world who are from industry and they're for industry. We understand your pain, we understand what you need. And they understand the power of a seamless experience. And ultimately, particularly in the production space, it's about solving problems. And that's what they do best. So we end up with productions that are delivered on time and, importantly, on budget for you. Our first stages, and these aren't sort of showcase stages to sort of say, gee, wow, that would be great. They're active. Our first soap opera goes into one of the sound stages in a few weeks' time. 200 episode a year soap opera, a youth set show in an inner city environment that will be taking place in one of those stages. We'll have a total of 10 sound stages built in the next 12 months. One of those will be a volumetric stage as well. We've currently got 350 dedicated accommodation units for cast and crew. That's going to ramp up to 500 also across the 12-month period. So we're seizing the moment, we're seizing the opportunity, we're bringing production back to the region, okay? With the production, the infrastructure and services that the industry are demanding. Now, all of this is just a bridge to our end state. You heard Tarek talk about the line. So on the line, we'll have the NEOM Media Hub. That'll cover approximately 1 million square metre footprint, which I think is about 10 million square feet. We'll have 50 sound stages, tenancy space, incubation startup space, industry learning space, game studios. It'll be unlike anything that's come before, and really will set the standard for media hubs moving forward. And it will give NEOM its rightful place amongst the elite global media hubs. It will be unique, and that'll be the world's first truly integrated media hub. What does that mean? Both physically and technologically. So we'll have one continuous environment, from decision maker to creator, from idea to reality, with very much a focus on the future. And as you've been hearing, the future very much lives in NEOM. So what's the proposition? What's our offer? It's quite simple. We enable and we facilitate. Okay? We will deliver a critical mass in infrastructure, right across the value chain. Stages, production support, backlots, post-VFX. Okay? We'll also have a compelling, competitive, attractive global incentive scheme. That'll be across production, whether it's film, television, reality, TVCs. It'll be post, VFX, and gaming. Okay, I say 40% plus. That plus takes us to 47%. Cash rebate. Okay, cash rebate. Why? Because we understand there's a bit of a premium to operate in NEOM today. We want to preserve your core rebate. We don't want it to be cannibalised. We pay out on time, quickly. Unlike a lot of other jurisdictions who promise a lot and deliver very little. Thirdly, it's about talent. Now that's really the heart of everything we're doing. We need that depth and breadth of talent. Today, for the producers in the room, we've got a crew depth of about 3. Okay, we can handle 3 large productions simultaneously. We need to develop our workforce to ensure we have a sustainable industry base moving forward, whether it's in game, whether it's in production, whether any part of the value chain. And all of this is underpinned by a progressive legal and regulatory framework. I can't stress how this is important this is. NEOM will have its own legal and regulatory environment. Okay? And the difference is it'll be future focused. A progressive system that's future focused. You hear a lot about no legacy, and this is a great example of that. Most jurisdictions are trying to apply a digital, regulatory frame, back engineered into an analog framework. We don't have that challenge. We're starting from a legal position, a digital position to begin with. Our laws are codified, criminal, civil, commercial. You don't get that anywhere else in the region. That will give you the certainty and clarity as an individual and your creativity as a corporate in terms of your IP and your repatriating funds. It's all designed, for ease of operating. We want to offer a red carpet, not red tape proposition here to allow you to compete aggressively globally. Now, for us, this isn't just a vision; it's real now. As you said, we've been operational for the last 18 months. We've hosted over 30 productions in that time, from cutting-edge fashion shoots for Vogue, Esquire, Harper's Bazaar. We've done productions for BBC and Channel 4 in the UK, Apple and Discovery. We've generated over 1,000 production days in that time. We've hosted our biggest ever feature film for the region, not just for the country, Desert Warrior, a $150 million production. We had 450 to 500 people on set for 5 months. We'll be talking to Jeremy, one of the producers, shortly, and we'll talk more about it then. But that's a mammoth undertaking. And when you talk about economic impact, that show alone generated over 80,000 hotel nights. Okay. We've hosted our first Saudi feature within Sands, which picked up the jury prize of last year's Red Sea Film Festival, up against some formidable international competition. We've had our first Indian production, Bollywood, Shah Rukh Khan, arguably the world's largest star, in Dookie. That film's due out towards the end of this year. He was effusive about his experiences at NEOM. He didn't pay me a penny, it was great. We're also in the television space, working with John DeMol's company, Talpa, and our first reality show for the region called $1 Million Island. We're looking to become the international format hub for that show. Okay, so our pipeline's continuing to grow. We're anchoring NEOM in services, facilities, in gear. We're not just about being a location. It's the full service offering, full ecosystem that we're rolling out. I've talked a lot about screen production, but gaming, as you've heard, and digital publishing are critically important to us and our future development. For the gaming sector, as we know, it's a sector that's continuing to skyrocket in terms of growth. And it's becoming all the more pervasive right across the media landscape. As part of the national gaming strategy, and I don't know how many countries around actually have a national gaming strategy. Again, I think that just demonstrates the progressiveness of what's happening in Saudi Arabia. We have one. And as part of that, we entered a joint venture agreement last year to create the region's first AAA game studio. I can't tell you how significant that is when you consider the size of the market. The Saudi Arabian games market is the 19th largest in the world, and that's an area where we do punch above our weight. That studio is currently being incubated here in Los Angeles, actually. There's 85, 90 developers working there, and they'll migrate across to NEOM as soon as possible to spark the gaming cluster at NEOM. We're also helping the fledgling startup scene in the gaming space in Saudi Arabia. We launched our Level Up program in conjunction with DigiPen, our accelerator, early this year, where we've supported 8 Saudi gaming startups, both with financial and mentoring support. See, we're in the business of creating ecosystems, from startups right through to global operators. Now, when it comes to talent, which I was talking about a moment ago, it all starts and ends with talent in our business, and already we've trained some 350 young Saudis in applied learning and traineeship programs. Most of them have all gone on to gain full-time employment, which is fantastic. Our industry learning team are working closely with industry to understand where the gaps are, both short, medium term, so we do have that sustainable industry that we need. We are filling gaps right across the value chain in terms of what talent is required. We've already got programs in place now for a couple of years with the National Film and Television School from the UK, DigiPen, as I mentioned, and we're about to commence programs with USC shortly. It's a vitally important area for us. Now, I hope through the course of today, you get a fresh perspective of the country and what's happening there and the talent we have. For me, from when I first visited the country in the mid-2000s to making it my home some 4 years ago, there's an incredible amount of change happening. And It's phenomenal. I think it's really hard for a lot of people to comprehend what's going on there. And it's really just starting. And that's before we even talk about what's happening in NEOM and the livability we're going to be offering. Now, I mentioned a few moments ago with Desert Warrior, the region's largest film, and I'm pleased to say we've got Jeremy Bolt, who I think is known to many, who's a pretty formidable producer, and he was tasked with bringing that production to NEOM. So, Jeremy, if you want to join me on stage, give him a bit of welcome. So, when you were first looking at this project, people saying, whatever you do not go to NEOM. They don't know what they're doing. They've got nothing there. It's in the middle of nowhere. I was being told, don't be stupid. Don't even try and bring that project there. It'll all end in tears. We're both still standing. We've still both got our day jobs. Do you want to share with everybody what happened? How it went?
Yeah, it went extremely well. I mean, one of the things I love about Wayne is he has a pioneering spirit, and working in NEOM requires that kind of pioneering energy. It's obviously, when you think of this, what's incredible about NEOM is the landscapes are like the greatest visual effects you've ever seen. The desert juxtaposes with incredible cliff-like canyons, so you literally feel as though you're on another planet. When we looked at making this film in Saudi Arabia, we initially looked at Alula, which is the sort of tourist attraction of Saudi. It's very, very beautiful and romantic. But Desert Warrior is an epic action movie. It's like the Braveheart of Saudi. And I wanted a landscape that reflected a more extreme, kind of brutal environment. And when I contacted Wayne and he brought us all down there, we immediately saw this. My director just fell in love with it. The other great thing about this region is, any distributors here will confirm this, the problem with desert is, desert can quickly become boring for an audience. Sand is sand is sand, a dune is a dune is a dune.
Hang on, I thought that bad.
NEOM has phenomenal variety of desert, which sounds odd, but it's like you're in different countries in different parts of it. The bunch of the studios that that Wayne has now built, that was actually the site of our battleground. But we also shot, 10 kilometers from there and got a completely different feel. 5 kilometers in another direction, a totally different feel. It has wonderful variety, which is so critical when you're dealing with a desert landscape for audiences. I love the experience, Wayne. Fantastic.
I didn't even plan to say, well, not in secret, but that's about it. We had a pretty big cast on this. So we had Rupert Wyatt directing, we had Anthony Mackie in the lead, Ben Kingsley in support. And they were there for, the bulk of them were there for a long time, 5 months, plus the pre-piece with Rupert.
Yeah.
A lot of people are I can't take a cast up there. How did they, react to it, and what was their experience?
When I put the crew together, I cast the crew looking for people who were actually up for an adventure, because it's a completely different environment. The obvious thing you're missing is alcohol. And I had a number of crew members come to me after a couple of weeks, and I would always tell them there was no alcohol, but they would find me and say, there really is no alcohol. I go, yeah, we're in Saudi Arabia, there's no alcohol. So there was,
I thought you was dry as lots of sand.
There was this sort of moment of shock, and I did lose a couple of crew members who found that a challenge. I know this whole aspect is being assessed, but once you got into the rhythm of the country and you accepted that you just had to change, and Anthony Mackie, for example, just loved the landscape, developed a very close relationship with one of his camels. The camels are a phenomenal, the sort of little boy in me just could never get over these incredible camels, and the closeness, the camels to the Bedouin culture. The Bedouins were were around where we were shooting. There was one area we were shooting, there was a Bedouin tent there, and we respectfully asked them if they could just move while we shot. They were so excited to have a film being made here. The people are incredibly enthusiastic with a deep passion for film. It's a place where there's no cynicism. They're just enthusiastic, like children, which would distinguish it from other places I've filmed over the years, where there's a little more of a cynical, money-grabbing approach to film when you come into a new town. The region was totally open-minded, which was very inspiring for us. We felt a great deal of responsibility. So, I mean, you know, people miss their families. It's the kind of place where you just have to realize you're going to be there for a long period of time. You just have to get into that mindset. But with Zoom calls, it's not as bad as it seemed. But Rupert and I were out there for close to 7 months. Anthony was there for a long time, 4 months. I arranged occasionally for crew and cast to do trips to Dubai or Jordan for some R&R. But it was during COVID, so actually being isolated helped me. I think I had 2 COVID cases for the whole shoot. So it's like anything, once you accept it, you can actually have a good time with it.
The good news is you've seen some double opens on the 31st of December, so in terms of resort for talent, I think, watch this space, it would be a great place to get some on that. But I think the great thing was, in terms of productivity, you didn't have crews with hangovers. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Monday was
there's a silver lining to this.
Yeah, we had a lot of, I arranged pool competition, I got pool tables, ping pong, game, I had movie nights, we had different food. I mean, it was, you know, just made people get creative. Tremendous sense of community, but I was very, when I put my crew together with my line producer, I was totally honest, and I looked for people who are up for some adventure. Because, you know, I think a lot of crews get a little bored with stage-based, digital-dominated filmmaking, where you're just stuck in a big room. This really took people out into the wilderness. As I said, Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that as a filmmaker.
And obviously, mate, you talk a lot about the locations. We've got all the facilities up and running now at the beginning of it, 4 stages, another 6 to come before close to the end of this year. You know, for filmmakers and people, producers who are thinking about coming out there, you know, I think it's better to hear from you than me. You know, what's your perspective and view on what we've got out there and what we're able to do with it?
I think what's really exciting about what Wayne's doing is, first of all, he has the resources to really do this, and he has the resources to do it correctly. So you're going to have great sound stages juxtaposed to incredible visual landscapes. You're going to have accommodation. You're going to have, as he's mentioned, post-production, visual effects. I think you need to get a Panavision hub in there. You know, the challenges for me were specifically shipping, visas. I think if you can organize in-country visas, if you can address the Carnet system. He's got an airport now. One of the challenges from a budgeting point of view is when you're that removed from other hubs, when you bring in gear, you bring it in for a long period of time. You can't kind of bring it in for a few days, send it back. So you're carrying money in regards to that. So the more you can bring to the region, the easier that'll be. I think without question, you're going to do what you're setting out to do. If I hadn't had Wayne and NEOM, I wouldn't have been able to pull off Desert Warrior. Desert Warrior was an incredibly hard movie to shoot anywhere in the world. It's a period action epic, horses, camels, masses of extras, very, very hard anywhere in the world. Wayne and NEOM made it possible for me in one of the most spectacular regions in the world, and we'll be forever grateful to you for that.
Thank you. On that basis, will you come back? If you have a program,
I would absolutely come back. I mean, every day I would think of a new kind of film. You know, it's a great place for a horror film. It's a great place for sci-fi. It's a great place for a romance. And I think it's a landscape audiences don't know. So, and as a film producer, constantly trying to be original, this is a very original place to be. So I really encourage any producers and distributors and financiers to look seriously at NEOM. It will cost you a little bit more, but Wayne is there to help with that aspect of it.
Thanks, man. I'm going to quit while I'm here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So, we are consolidating the industry in the region, and NEOM will be that gateway for international industry to harness all those great opportunities, whether it's for productions, as you've just heard, whether it's about investments and partnerships, or setting up a business there to take advantage of what's starting to evolve. I hope you see from the momentum and the actions we're taking, the seriousness of our intent and of our commitment. Now, I'm often asked, what I'm most proud of in the time that I've been here, particularly the last 18 months, whether it is how quickly we've got the infrastructure up, or the number of productions we've been able to attract, or the incentive scheme, which in ordinary circumstances isn't an easy thing to establish and implement, at the governmental level and screen agencies around the world. As I said before, first and foremost, it's about my team. It's on their shoulders that I stand, and again, I think it's the outcomes you see from the team that I'm most proud of. But it's the belief that they're creating. The belief amongst producers that you can come and film at NEOM and have a great experience and do it on time and on budget. It's the belief of cast and crew that if they move to NEOM, there's going to be continuity of work there to sustain them. The belief in business that they can come there and establish businesses for the future and for the longer term. But it's even for the talent, and the talent that are doing courses. There's a belief there that they can do courses, they're going to lead to great career choices and really great job prospects. A belief that it's real, it's now, and it's the future. And it's a huge opportunity for all of us. I think that's the most important thing. It's been great that you've been able to share this with us this morning. I'm going to leave you now with some images that hopefully captures everything we've been talking about. Thank you very much.